Hello, and welcome to one of our first webinars that we're going to bring to you every so often, mainly to do with adapt learning. And we'll talk about theming, we'll talk about menus, extensions, anything else, and we'll guide you through adapt learning. So what we'd like to start off with is a little introduction. So I'm Daryl Headley, I work at Kineo, and we also have Chris Jones. So Chris Jones works at Sponge UK, and we're going to give you a little introduction into Adapt and how Adapt works, and we're also going to give you a live coding session of how to create a basic theme, so update a theme that already exists and change a few variables, change a few colors, and get you on your way of creating new themes. So let's start with an introduction to Adapt. So we started working with Adapt probably about a year and a half ago. It started as an in-house tool that we would create for clients, some really great e-learning courses. So we worked with Logitech, Mozilla, and a few others, and we started creating these great courses that we could have one course for multiple devices. We found this really worked in terms of responsiveness and being able to kind of view one course on multiple devices, so from mobile all the way up to desktop. And we found that Adapt actually really worked. And so we decided to take this open source. We had a huge discussion about what that means to us. And we kind of looked at the benefits of open source. So we saw that we could get free developer resource. We would get free contributions to make this tool a really amazing tool. We thought that actually the community should have quite a lot to say. So to be able to create this as a community-led tool, so you're actually able to help shape the features just by going onto the community site, posting, saying, hey, does this work? Hey, does this work? Can we have this feature? You're able to actually shape this product. You're able to give free advice, or get free advice. We have a very busy community. I'm really impressed with how fast we answer questions. That's been a real buzz on there. So lots of people have been posting questions, and the answers that are coming out are really cool. You get a really nice high quality of code. So normally if you have a product that's in a company, you're restricted to those people reviewing it. One of the things that I've really had to learn is people will review your code, and that reviewing of your code is quite interesting because they come up with ideas that you would never think of, and it's quite from a developer's point of view, it's quite a nice thing for other developers to come in and say, hey, actually, have you thought of this? Or hey, have you thought of this? And you kind of really get this nice review going, and that brings stability. So you have not just 5 developers in one company looking at it, you have 15, 20, you could go up to hundreds of developers just reviewing your code. You also have the flexibility to switch, interoperability. So we're working on open formats. So we've got HTML, JavaScript, CSS. It's open anyway. So being able to take that code and switch it out for someone else is really important, and that's one of the benefits of open source. And the biggest one is it's free. You don't have to worry about paying for something. Actually, it's all completely free. You can go onto the community site, you can download it from GitHub, grab it, and use it straight away, right now. Yeah, that's the benefits of open source. So who's involved? Currently it's Kineo, Learning Pool, Sponge, and DeltaNet. And we're all working together to refactor the framework, which has now been done. It has been released as version 1.0. And we're also building an authoring tool. So that authoring tool is going to be released for version 0.1. And that will have features that will enable you to edit, as a developer, the course structure. So you'll be able to create pages and menus. So talking a little bit about the structure of Adapt, we've built it around a plugin architecture. And with that plugins, we've kind of separated it into 4 categories. So we've got themes. Themes are the main UI element, being able to change the look and the feel of themes. Menus So you can have custom menus, or you can just plug in a menu. You can have multi-tiered menus, so you can have sub-menus, and you could go through as deep as you want, really. And we have components. Components are the interactive elements on a page. They might be a text component, a graphic component, a narrative, a slideshow, an MCQ, a slider question. So we've got quite a varied amount of components that you can actually just grab and use straight away. And we also have extensions. So extensions extend off the core, and they create extra learning resources, or kind of activities that you can add onto Adapt. Extra functionality. So we have things like tutor, which show feedback. We have an assessment extension. We also have Trickle. So Trickle enables vertical locking. So you can have course locking as you go through. So I'll hand this over to Chris now, so he'll give you a quick run through.
Hello there. Hi, thanks, Daryl. So yes, so getting started as a developer, there's a few things that you are going to need to be able to follow this through, and also to kind of get involved with Adapt. The first thing that you're going to need is Git, which is a source control tool, which will allow you to access our open source repositories. It's also what we use for sharing components as well. So any components that you want to share with the community are all available on Git, and it will we have a built-in system that will share those components, and you can download them and kind of collaborate on them. So the installation is cross-platform, so you can install that just by going to the Git website. Now, one thing we have reported back is that Windows users, there's a few things you do need to check when you're installing Git. It needs to install into your path variable, and also you need to check your firewall settings. So if you just if you are going through that, make sure that Git is fully successfully installed before continuing with that. The next thing that you're going to need to get is Node.js. Now, Node.js is the framework for our build system and also for the authoring tool. It's a JavaScript framework that will allow you to run JavaScript on your system, on your computer. And again, it's cross-platform, so it works on Windows, Mac, and Linux. And basically, if you download that and install it on your system, that will then allow you to run all the commands that we're going to be doing in the kind of the next step when we go through and we start editing the themes. Again, you'll need to download and install that, and you may need to reboot your computer if you're running on Windows, possibly. Okay, so once you've kind of got those two tools installed, you can actually then install the Adapt command line interface. Now, this installs some tools onto your command line that we'll be using shortly, that will allow you to actually create courses, install plugins, components, and this basically is one of our open source tools that we have. To install that, once you've got Node, if you run the command npm install adapt-cli-g, this will basically do a global install of the Adapt CLI, and set that up on your system, and it should all be automated. The second thing you're going to need is another open source tool called Grunt.js. This is the build system that we're using, and it will give you some commands that you'll see later, like grunt build, grunt server. They'll actually allow you to preview the courses and compile your code. And again, to install that, you run the command npm install grunt-cli-g, and that will do a global install of the Grunt CLI tools. So once you've got all of those installed, you should be ready to get started. So the first thing you can do is actually create a course, and you can do this from your command line using the adapt create course command. So by typing in adapt create course at your command line tools, it'll basically prompt you for the type that you'd like to create. Currently course is the only option supported. They'll ask you for a name, so you can give it a name. The default will be my adapt course. You can call it whatever you want. So for instance here we've called it adapt, we've called it webinar demo. Then it'll ask you what branch you want to check out. So master is the default, and you can accept that. And then it'll ask you if you want to create now, and it will go ahead and it will start downloading the framework onto your computer into a directory of the same name of your course. So in this instance it's going to create webinar demo. So you can see once it's completed and it's installed all of the dependencies, it'll come back and say that the course has been created, and it'll give you some instructions on exactly how to access the course and some of the commands that you have available there. So here you can see that we can change directory into the webinar demo folder and run grunt build to compile the source, and then we can run grunt server and actually open it up and preview it in your browser. So when you've got all of the files downloaded, you should be able to explore through the webinar demo folder, and you'll see that you have the source code and also all of the tests downloaded. In the source folder, you'll also see all of the components and the menus and the themes that go up to making the Adapt system. We're really going to be focusing on the themes folder today, and you'll see that in the theme folder you should have Adapt Contrib Vanilla, which is the default theme that comes with Adapt when you install the core bundle. So I'll hand over to Daryl now, and he'll basically go through and show you how you can customize a theme and adapt it from there.
Thanks, Chris. So, what is a theme? So, a theme gives the ability to change the look and feel of a course. So, being able to change the colors of items, the background of a page, the menu items, being able to change the colors and the layouts of things. And we've given quite a lot of power to the themes. So before we had templates in core, and we found that to be able to edit that, you would end up overwriting, and Adapt would become quite bulky. And we thought, well, let's take that out. Let's give a lot more power to these theming developers. I mean, I really like being able to theme in Adapt. I think it's really quite powerful. You've got CSS and less. You've got JavaScript, and you've also got all the HTML templates that make up core. So you're able to go in and change the article template or the page template or the block template, and you can really kind of manipulate Adapt and how it looks and feels just by changing the themes. And we're going to keep updating our theming engine, so you'll be able to do things like changing the transitions between pages and being able to add transitions in certain places. So we're really looking forward to building on that. So I'm going to give you a live demonstration of theming. I hope it works. With live theming, you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I'll go through and I'll explain how you can really customize a theme by just changing a few things. So if we look into the theme folder, I'll open this and actually open up the less files. So I'm going to start just changing some simple less, which is a preprocessor for CSS. So it enables us to pass around variables. And there's a variables.less file that I can simply come in and start changing. As soon as I start changing this, you'll see that I can update the course. And to make sure that I'm changing these and it's being updated, I can switch to my terminal. Oh, wrong one. I can switch to my terminal here, and I can run grunt watch. Now grunt watch is one of the commands that we've set up, so that will now watch over my files. It will watch for any changes that I do. So simply by changing something, it will run through and compile all my less and build it. If I change something to a JavaScript file, it will run through the JavaScript command and compile all the JavaScript too. Another one that I might want to run is grunt server. So that enables me to actually create a live server that actually loads up Adapt. So this is what Adapt looks like. You can see that we've got this kind of blue color and white as a background, and we can simply go through and we'll have a look at just this page for now, and we'll go through and kind of play with this a little bit, and you can see the kind of colors that we've got already, and the buttons on the narrative as well. So I'll refresh this page and I will jump over to editing. So I'm going to change a few of these and put a few colors in. So we're going to go this kind of pink color, and I'm going to then darken the second color. So these are my primary colors, and these are used throughout the course. So I'm actually going to reuse that primary color as a variable and just darken that by 30%. And simply by saving that and viewing back over here and giving a little refresh, you can see I've instantly changed the color, and you can see that things have started to inherit that. So the icons have started to inherit that. You can see that even the hot graphic has taken that pink color, and even the items have started to change that as well. So you can see I can really kind of change that. You'll see that buttons aren't quite done yet, but I haven't quite finished in terms of what I'm going to go through here. So I'm going to change this one to a slightly off-white, so it's a kind of grey. And I'm going to jump this one in here. I'm going to reuse my primary color here for my inverted background color. So that's any time that there's a pop-up, that will be changed to the primary color, and I'll have a inverted foreground color of white. So you have these foreground colors, which is the text color, and then background color for your any backgrounds. If we have a quick look at that, we can see that we've got instantly this kind of grey color here. It's a slightly different color to the top bar, and you can go through and you can see all the color changes already. And that's simply by changing a few variables. So if we were to come down and actually do a few more things here, I can leave that as that. Yep, they're all being used right. So let me change the item padding as well. So I want to add a little bit more padding to those items. If we go down here, you can see that every single item now has got slightly more padding. There we are. Sorry, there is sometimes a slight little delay between the actual compiling of the less. So we'll come through and we'll notice that if we look at the buttons, they're slightly out, and we're going to change those. So we'll change those to a primary color again, and you can put these as any colors as you like, and I'm going to darken the primary color by 30%, and we'll give that a little look. We'll check that the text colors of the buttons are white as well, and we'll go through, and that looks really good. Let's have a little look. So you see that that's now updated even my buttons, so the hovers are done there. If I wanted to change the actual hover colors of these as well, I can go in and change those. So let's go back up to my item hover color, and I'm not actually going to use my secondary color there. I'm going to use a slightly lighter color for that, and I'm just going to take the primary color and darken that by 10% instead of 30%. So if I run this again, so that's now by 10%. You'll see that the MCQ also takes that, and you'll see that even Tutor has taken over that pink color as well. So let's carry on going through the theme. We've gone past the buttons, so let's have a little look. So you can also change things like the actual width of the components and the layout. I'm going to come in here and we're going to change this one here to 242424, and we're going to change the icon hover color to a white. So in theory our navigation color should be this kind of grey color now, and the icon hover colors should be the pink, and they should hover to white. So if we have a little look at that, you can see that we've got these hovers. We've even got page level progress on the side, but I need to adjust that. And that's a little core module that's just been added in version 1.1 called Draw. So all I need to do is really find that and find out what I need to do with this. So let's have a little look at Draw and see the colors that we can add to that. So I'll put that as the kind of grey so it matches the navigation. And I'll need to update the actual items as well, and I think that should really update Draw as well. Oh, I need to. There we are. Then we have Draw here. Now Draw actually tells you component completion. So if I go through here and I actually complete this, you'll see that that top bar there is updating. I can also use it to navigate through and find out where I need to be to complete the rest of the page, and so I can complete that, and you see that my page level progress is slowly completing all the way up. We'll go through and you can see that I can easily adjust all of the buttons as well. So there's a few more things that I would like to go into, and I want to come out of the variables.less. I think we've done enough in there. I'm actually going to come into the buttons. So I'm going to change something in the buttons, and I'm going to change the border radius of all the buttons across the whole course. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put border radius 2 pixels. Save that, and we'll see what that does to our little button. And there we are. We've got a slight border radius. I don't know if you can see that. If you can't see that, I will adjust it to maybe 4 pixels. Let's have a little look there. So you can definitely see that that's done there on the button. So that's just changing the buttons. Now I want to go slightly deeper for people who really want to see the power of themes. And one of them is I want to go away from less. I want to come into templates. I want to be able to adjust something on top of the page. I want to think about adding a logo. So it might be a company logo, and I want it to show, and I want it to fade in whenever the page loads. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to add a span straight into my template, and I'll name a class of page logo. You'll notice that my class is actually to do with whatever my template is. So you can see that I've got page inner, I've got page title, so it should go page logo. So I save that, and that will automatically be picked up. We'll jump over to our terminal and just check that that is definitely doing that. So you see that it's going through, it's done all my compiling, and it's watching as I'm changing my course. I do need to go back into my theme just to give that a background image. So there's a theme.less file which enables you to do bespoke styling. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add page logo. I'm going to add a background image to this, and I've already set up an asset in there. I actually need to find it first. Let's adapt. So in terms of a theme, you're actually able to put things into your assets folder, and that assets folder will be moved over into the build folder. So you can see that we have quite a few images in here. So we have this PNG, we have a loading GIF, and all these background images. So you can actually grab those and use them in your less. So we'll go back to the theme, and we will just put a few more bits of CSS in there. And I think that's it for now. So we'll have a little look at that and see what that does and see what it looks like. So you can see I've got my nice little logo on there. I do want to just show that it is fully responsive no matter how far you go down. We'll come back out and we'll have a little look at what else we can do with that as a theme. So one of the nice things that I was saying is that you can also tap into adapt, as in JavaScript as well. So one of the things that you might want to do is tap into an event. Now the events are all on GitHub. You can look at the core events that they pass out. There's quite a lot of them, but it enables us to give plugins a really nice way to plug into adapt and manipulate certain things about the layout or add extra extensions. And I'm going to write a really small bit of JavaScript, not too much, and I'm going to listen to an event. So the one event that I'm going to use is page view. So whenever page view is ready. Now that page view ready is actually an event. There's a lot of documentation about this anyway, but that page view event is saying when all the components have loaded, all the images are loaded, and everything is ready to go. page view ready fires off. And when that page view fires off, I'm going to do a really sneaky bit of jQuery actually. It is a little bit naughty, I do have to admit, because I shouldn't really be doing it. I'm actually going to set the opacity to 0 on here, and I'm going to delay that by about 800. If I was to do this, I would probably put the actual CSS in the actual less files. So we'll have a little look at what that's doing. You'll see that it's going to go through. It's found that I've made a change, and it's running through and compiling on my JavaScript now. So the JavaScript compile is slightly longer because it actually has to go off and do a kind of require, where it needs to basically grab all the extensions and all the components and sort them out and make sure they're all loaded before all their dependencies. So if we now load this page, you'll see that I've got 800 milliseconds before that comes in. Review that again, and there's a nice little fade. I'm not too sure if you can see that on the webinar. There's a really nice fade that comes in now, so I can do that. I want to take it slightly more, and then I'm going to show you around the course and see what's happened around the course just by changing a few of these themes. I'm going to come into theme, and I've realized that if I actually look through this page, the gray kind of takes too much. So I'm going to do something really simple. I do know that if I come down to, sorry, I know I'm scrolling too fast, but actually if I inspect this in my tools, I can find out that we have env child. Now, normally you could use CSS env child, but because we have to support IE8, we've built env child into the elements, so you can find out the env child of all the articles or the blocks. And I'm going to find out that that was the second env child. So I'm going to come in here and put article.env child 2. So that would be the second article on every single page. And I'm just going to put the background color as white. And then I also know that the article title needs to be changed as a slightly different color as well. I realized that my computer's gone a little bit slow. That looks right. I'll give it a little test anyway. So we can see that we still get our fade, and as we come down here, it's now got a white background compared to the grey background above, and that kind of just divides the content slightly nicer. You can really see that if you've got slightly longer pages. You can see that I've kind of limited this to 2 articles, and each article has 2 blocks. I think that's probably getting on to like that's enough content on there. You'll see that everything is designed, so I can come in here and I've gone back to the menu, and you see that the menu has picked up all the styles that we've added. If we go through the menus and come onto the presentation components, you see that I've still got that logo that comes up and fades in. You see that every single component on every single page has completely taken the theme. So if you talk about inheritance, the theme is definitely inherited by every single plugin that you can get. So menus inherit it, extensions inherit it, and also components inherit it. So if I come back and I go into our question components, you'll see that we have an MCQ, matching, text input, and even the graphical MCQ all take the theme. Yeah. So you can see that every single thing here is just taken it. So even if I go through and answer things, you'll see that even extensions have taken the theme. Cool. Well, that was a live coding session. And I will pass over to Chris.
Thanks very much, Daryl. I think that was really awesome, showing us kind of the power that you can kind of do through the themes, and how just a few kind of lines of CSS and code can really kind of change your whole course. If you've got any more kind of questions, or you want to kind of read up more on styling your course, we've actually got on the wiki, there is an article on styling your course, and you can follow through some of the examples that Daryl's shown, and it's got some step-by-step instructions on how to actually do that. And like Daryl mentioned as well, if you're looking at some of your JavaScript and you want to look at some of the events, on the wiki as well, there's also a full list of the events which are supported in Adapt version 1 currently. So I'd kind of like to encourage you to take a look at that, and if you're interested in kind of following this through, um, take a look at the wiki and follow through some of the tutorials there. If you've got any questions at all, then really feel free to come onto the community forum at community.adaptlearning.org and join up to the discussion forums. Like Daryl said earlier, all of the developers, all of the core developers are on the forums, and we do respond to questions as quick as we can. So we really try and engage the community. So if you want to get involved and you've got some questions to ask, just hop on there and just fire us a question, and we'll be more than happy to kind of chat with you, discuss some things, or give you some answers.